So if you're an experienced WoW player, you'll know that the start of new expansions is where you can make an ungodly amount of gold doing basically anything. But being a little bit more efficient and even adding some passive ways to make gold can just make you millions of additional gold doing nothing extra. So that's really what I want to go over in this video. A very easy way to make a lot of passive gold very early on in the expansion. And this is going to take basically no time and almost no resources to set up, and you can do it right at the start of this new expansion. And this is going to be done through tailoring. Now, if the character you're currently playing, say the main you're leveling up first, doesn't have tailoring and you don't want to switch, that's fine. But if you're going to be playing any other characters, I would definitely recommend having tailors on a lot of those characters, especially if they're going through and leveling up and you're not heavily into progressing your professions yet, because in tailoring, you can get a ridiculous amount of passive gold. And this can be done through your specializations. So the first thing you're going to want to pick up with your specializations is a fabric specialist, which gains 1% increased chance to find cloth in midnight zones for every point in the specialization. And you can put 30 points into this. So that's just a massive increase to the chance to get any cloth drops from anything. Then as you keep putting points into this, high quality cloth can now drop in midnight zones. And then finally, when you have 30 points in, high quality cloth drops more often in midnight zone. So the high quality cloth is just higher quality, but that higher quality cloth is worth like double or more than the normal quality cloth. So there's a ridiculous amount of additional gold you can get through that. Now, if you want to be as efficient as possible, after you put the 30 points into fabric specialist, this will allow you to just unlock otherworldly cloth and Eastern Kingdoms cloth. Now, what these will do with putting no points in is a cloth drops more often in Eversung Woods and Zolaman, and then cloth drops more often in Rootlands and the Voidlands. So basically, all of this expansion zone so far, you'll get more cloth drops. You don't have to put any points into this, and I would actually recommend you put no points into these. I actually messed up putting 7 points into these because at the end of these, you actually get a buff to high quality drops in those specific zones. And while those are good, I think those are longer term goals. I think the better thing to do is to go over and go to nimble needlework, and we'll also go over how you can level up tailoring really early on to actually get these quickly. But once you've unlocked nimble needlework, you'll unlock the first node here, which is basically just for crafting. But the primary thing you want is to put points into this until you can learn your first sub-specialization, and you take either Arcano Weaving or Sunfire Silk. Now what this does is enemies in midnight zones can now drop Sunfire Silk, and you can also make Sunfire Silk bolts, and the same with Arcano Weaving. And to get your first one of these, you only need 5 points, so it's very easy to get your first one, and then you'll be able to start to get either of these cloth drops. And these cloth drops go off of your base cloth drops, so all of these increases to high quality drops also affects these different cloths you'll be getting here. And these two different cloths here are a lot more expensive right now. They'll be a lot more expensive for a long time, and in general they'll still be a bit more expensive. You put 5 points into this, get the second one, and then you have to go get 20 points to get the second one, and that will be where you want to be putting all of your points, because once you have both Arcano Weaving and Sunfire Silk Weaving both unlocked, you then go back here, you start putting your points into Eastern Kingdoms or otherworldly cloth. But just putting in your points of how we just went over will passively give you a ridiculous amount of gold, even when just leveling up throughout the zones and questing, because any humanoids you start to kill will then be able to just drop a ridiculous amount of cloth, higher quality cloth, and even different types of cloth that you normally couldn't get. But how do you actually progress this decently right when you start the expansion? So once you first start your adventure into Midnight, you're just going to follow the main quest to get through the starting scenario. After you're done with that, you're going to fly into Silvermoon, and right when you get into Silvermoon, you're going to pick up the professions you want, so you learn Midnight's version of these professions. And then there's going to be a quest right when you get into Silvermoon, which is essentially the work order NPCs, and there'll be a quest there you pick up that just wants you to talk to one person, and that's all you do, and then you turn it in. And when you do that, you get to choose a bag of resources. Now you can get the base gathering resource bags from this, or whatever crafting profession you have, it also has a bag you can choose from that profession. So once you pick up tailoring, go do this quest and you can get a tailoring bag, and these will just give you a bunch of resources that pertain to that profession. And for tailoring, it just gives you a bunch of base cloth for this expansion. Now with this this amount of cloth and just buying like the needles and things you need from the vendor, you can get to level 25 of tailoring. I think you could actually get close to 30, and that will allow you to get your first specialization. And after you've gotten to that point, you may need to spend a little bit of gold to get like a few enchanting resources and maybe a few additional cloth, and you should pretty easily be able to get up to a high enough level to unlock your 2 specializations for tailoring. And a really good tip on top of this is when you're doing this, or anytime you're crafting through a profession on like early level characters, is make sure to go through and craft everything once. There will be a tag if you never craft something before that says first craft. This will give you more knowledge points to put more points into your specializations. It'll also give you a big chunk of experience for your character for every first craft. So that's really what you're going to want to be doing. And once you've gotten to the point through this early crafting that you have 2 specializations and you've gotten all the first crafts you can get for really cheap early on, then you're going to go around and get some of the knowledge treasures. And at this point, I'd recommend getting the add-on called Mayu's Knowledge Points Tracker. Now what this does is just adds a little tracker somewhere on your screen that you can move around wherever you want. It also adds a little button to your minimap, so if you don't want to see this tracker when you're not using it, you can click on the button on the minimap and it'll go away. And you click it and it will pop back up. Now what this does is whatever professions you have, it will have these 2 little bars that you click on and it has a drop down. Now it will tell you all of the areas you can currently go get knowledge points from. Now the main things you're really going to be focusing on are the purple ones. Now these are unique knowledge points, meaning you can only get them once, and all of the purple ones are just things you have to go and loot. So you can just fly around all of the midnight zones and pick up all of these different pieces of loot, and these will all give you 3 knowledge points. And also once you click them in this add-on, it will put a waypoint tracker on your map and on your mini map or in the world so you can see where it is very easily, and you just fly to it, pick it up, learn it, you have more knowledge points. And you'll basically have 3 areas at the start to go through. You'll have Silvermoon, there'll usually be 1 or 2 for most professions in Silvermoon, and then you have Eversong Woods, and then you have Zolomon. Now to unlock Herondar and Voidstorm, you have to do more questing. Herondar you can do pretty early on in your questing, but then for Voidstorm you'll have to do pretty much all of the other main campaign chapters, and it's level 88 to 90, so you have to be close to the end of the campaign to get to Voidstorm. But once you've been able to go to Herondar and get those, that should allow you to get all of these special treasures besides 2. And this will give you quite a lot of specialization points just from these treasures and just from your first crafting for tailoring. And at this point, you should have 2 specializations unlocked. You should have a good amount of points spending them in the areas we talked about. And you've probably only spent maybe a few thousand gold tops to get a few additional resources to keep getting a few additional first crafts and tailoring. And this is the point that you're now set up to just go continue doing the main campaign and doing whatever else you want to do. This is going to give you a ridiculous amount of additional gold just questing throughout the game. And then as you get into the further zones, you can go pick up those treasures easily, put more specialization points into where we talked about to even get more gold. And then once you've gotten all the way up to level 90, you can then choose if you want to continue crafting and tailoring to get more of those first crafts, to get more specialization points, to then go do more targeted farm for cloth. But if you're just looking to do the most base version that will give you a ton of passive gold while you're leveling up and doing whatever in the expansion, that's pretty much all you're going to need to do. And you're just going to be getting a ridiculous amount of additional cloth, higher quality cloth, and cloth is going to be so expensive early on that this will be making you ridiculous amounts of gold for doing pretty much nothing extra after you've set this up. And I'm going to be doing a bunch of videos going over a lot of other ways to make gold, how to set up professions and things like that, but this is pretty much all you need to do for more of a starter passive gold making. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.